Barbados Labour Party is obligated to carry the fight on the CLICO issue to the government for several good reasons. The collapse of CLICO is potentially the single largest collapse of a financial institution in Barbados' history. And the ramifications of this collapse are vast and wide-ranging and bear direct relevance to our standing as a country that is heavily involved in the financial services and international business sector. This collapse directly affects our reputation as a center of excellence for financial services. But perhaps the most important thing is the effect that this collapse has had on the average Barbadian. I have constituents who invested their life savings in some instances, and in other instances they invested, in some cases, small amounts, perhaps to put away for a rainy day, perhaps to put away for their child's education. But these funds are now at risk. There is uncertainty as to whether these individuals will get their money back. Equally, I have constituents who have CLICO life insurance policies and know the value of those policies is in serious doubt, all simply because of the mismanagement of CLICO's funds by certain individuals. We maintain that the government is culpable in several respects for its failure to act with dispatch to safeguard the investment of Barbadians. It seems likely now that government slowness to act in relation to this CLICO disaster may well have its origins in the very close relationship between the former Prime Minister David Thompson, now deceased, and the former President of CLICO, Mr. Leroy Paris. The former Prime Minister, on the last day of January 2009, gave Barbadians the assurance that the company CLICO was sound, well managed, and well regulated. This statement was repeated in a CLICO press release, a full-page ad taken out by CLICO. However, the findings of the judicial managers have established clearly that this was not the case. CLICO was not sound. CLICO was certainly not well managed. Did the then Prime Minister investigate the soundness of the company before he hastily sought to give these assurances to the Barbadian public? We seriously doubt. If he had done any kind of investigation, he would have recognized the true state of affairs of CLICO and would not have felt himself able to give Barbadians that assurance. But a country is entitled to rely on the word of its leaders. A country is entitled to expect that when a Prime Minister gives his word, it is buttressed by solid facts and evidence. We now have the alarming revelations in the report of the judicial managers that the former Prime Minister's law firm was complicit in removing a significant sum of money from CLICO's coffers on the eve of the collapse becoming public. From the report, the law firm of Thompson and Associates rendered false invoices to the tune of $3.333 million a mere 4 weeks before the collapse of CLICO became public. The invoice for those fees was settled a mere 2 weeks before the collapse became public. And we are now told that the money was not in fact for work done, but in fact was a payment of 1/3 of the gratuity that Mr. Leroy Paris claimed was due to him. What is remarkable is that this invoice for $3.333 million was not approved by the Chief Financial Officer, was not approved by anyone in the Accounts Department. Instead, it was approved by the person for whom the money was intended, Mr. Leroy Paris himself. This does not accord with any reasonable standard of corporate governance or behavior of directors of a significant company. The then Prime Minister's law firm therefore was involved in an act of subterfuge, which was intended to get a payment of a gratuity out of CLICO at a time when, were it to be paid out as such, many eyebrows would have been raised. This act was designed to get a payment of $3.33 million out of CLICO and into the hands of one of the solid friends of David Thompson and a solid supporter of the Democratic Labour Party. Throughout the report of the judicial managers, there are many references of payments made by CLICO to Thompson and Associates, to David Thompson, and many of these payments were associated directly with Leroy Paris. It seems clear to us that the stance that the government took in relation to CLICO was colored by the relationship between David Thompson and Leroy Paris. What else could explain why the government moved so slowly in establishing the supervisory committee? What else could explain why the government established a supervisory committee but which did not have any teeth? What else could explain why the government waited and waited and waited before appointing judicial managers? What else could explain why CLICO could, with contempt, proceed to sell over 800 life insurance policies in circumstances where the supervisor of insurance had given written instructions that they not do so? This state of affairs calls for a commission of inquiry. The Barbados Labour Party, while demanding that the government take immediate steps, and while also demanding that the judicial managers take immediate steps in relation to recovering all of CLICO's funds from whosever hands they may enter, we feel that a commission of inquiry will allow for a thorough public ventilation of the issues. We need to understand as a people and as investors and as a public what went wrong with CLICO. We need to understand what can be done to stave off any such occurrence in the future. But equally importantly, the directors of CLICO, people who were involved in the mismanagement of CLICO, need to be brought to public account and need to stand on a witness stand and give the public of Barbados an explanation for their conduct. We seriously doubt the resolve of the Democratic Labour Party to put this issue to rest. We doubt this because of the close relationship between its former leader and the former president of CLICO. We also have reason to further doubt the resolve of this administration in as far as it relates to CLICO. The current Prime Minister has said publicly in the House of Assembly that he and Leroy Paris are buddies. We know what Leroy Paris being buddies with a former Prime Minister could lead to. We're left to wonder if Barbados and the fate of the Barbadian investors will also be held to ransom over a solid friendship between Leroy Paris and their current Prime Minister. A commission of inquiry is exactly what this country will need to bring all of the wrongdoing to light and to hold up these individuals' shameful conduct for exactly what it is, a betrayal of the trust of Barbadians. If it involves exposing wrongdoing on the part of government individuals, so be it. Nobody is above the law.